Hello there everyone, and welcome to the second video of Flamebait Talks. I, of course, am your host, Flamebait, or by now, as you all know, you can all just call me Flame. So last week, I actually put a poll up on our Twitter page just to see what everyone would want our second video to be about. Didn't get a lot of votes, which is fine. New channel, I completely understand that. It'll take us a while to get back up there to the big dogs. So yeah, our second video is actually going to be about polyamory. Now, the reason why this particular topic is important to me is because I am polyamorous and am currently in a polyamorous relationship with my husband and our boyfriend. So I will be going into my experiences with that, as well as giving you a little bit of general information about the subject at hand. So, for those of you that do not actually know, polyamory is the practice of or the desire for intimate relationships with more than one partner. And that, of course, goes without saying that is with the consent of all the partners involved. There are different kinds of polyamorous relationships. Polyamorous is kind of an umbrella term that encompasses lots of different relationships. The one that myself, my husband, and boyfriend more commonly associate ourselves with is a closed polyamorous triad, meaning that while all three of us are together, we are committed to one another in that relationship, and at the moment we are not seeking anyone else. As such, this type of relationship, or the relationship that we're in, might also be considered as polyfidelitis, which is a relationship involving more than two people in which they have committed to all partners in the relationship. There are, of course, so many different terms and so many different types of polyamorous relationships that I cannot get into all of them at the moment, but it is just a good point to make here, that they're not for everyone. They're really not. It's not something that I would say that anyone should just dive into. It's something that takes a lot of talking with your partner, or partners, if that's something that you want to get into. And if that's something that you're not okay with and you feel like you're the jealous type, chances are it's probably not for you. I won't discourage anyone from trying to make their own experiences and conclusions, but you know yourself, and you know the type of person that you are. I would say just take that into mind when you are considering this type of relationship. The other thing that I would like to maybe suggest is checking out one or more, as, you know, that's kind of what polyamory is all about, more. A different, or multiple creeds on the subject. The one that I found that I relate to most involves a couple different points. First and foremost, you have fidelity and loyalty. And this doesn't necessarily have a lot of emphasis on the physical side of a relationship, but the promises, agreements, and actions of all the partners that are involved. You can be in a relationship as long as, like, hey, no, I know we've done some talking and I really think this person is cute. I would like to pursue them. Your partner will either say, yeah, sure, that's fine. Or they'll say, I'm not really cool with that. And that's something that is the important thing to respect in this, is, you know, the agreements that you make, the promises you make, and the actions that you take in these kinds of relationships. I would almost say the number one step, honestly, I should have moved this one around, communication and negotiation. Now, this step is important in any type of relationship. But I would say that it's especially important in poly relationships. and they can't really survive without it. You know, this is a complex relationship involving, you know, 3, sometimes many more people, and there are a lot of emotions and ideas and day-to-day things that can come up that really need to be talked about. And, you know, one of these partners might be okay with something and the other one might not. So it's important to communicate and negotiate. That way you know where everyone's boundaries are, what boundaries you shouldn't cross with which people, and, you know, just because, you know, you might not like something, you could negotiate to do something for said person to make them happy. And that's what a lot of this is about. Second is trust, honesty, dignity, and respect. And I feel like I shouldn't have to define those, you know. Trust the people that you're with. Be honest with them, even if it means that you might end up in an argument. Maintain dignity of the people in the relationship and yourself. And of course, respect the people that are in this relationship with you and yourself. You know, you can fix something if it's broken, but there's only so much that you can do if you cover up something or you lie about it. You know, you have to respect that person enough to tell them the truth. You have to trust that person enough to know that, hey, what they're telling me is the truth. And I would say the last part of that is probably non-possessiveness. And I guess what I'm meaning by that is no one really belongs to anyone in a poly relationship. And I don't think it's not really wise to say, hey, you know, this person is mine in any relationship. I mean, I've been in many monogamous relationships and I get it, but, you know, there's something very kind of aggressive and possessive about that kind of terminology. You know, you are part of a group and you need to act accordingly. If feelings of jealousy and possessiveness do come up, it's important that you talk about them with your partners and resolve these issues before they become something bigger, because that's how these relationships can end. And again, you'll notice that I'm saying communication. That is the number one for polyamorous relationships. You know, you can't bottle things up. You have to talk about it. And I know that some people aren't entirely okay with that, and that's fine. You know, you don't have to wear your heart on your sleeve all the time. You don't have to tell everyone every single thing that you're feeling. But in these types of relationships, it's critical. You know, they can't survive unless you do this. So just keep that in mind. When people, of course, are talking about polyamory, polygamy does, of course, come up. Polygamy, if you don't know, is a marriage of one individual to multiple partners. This is, of course, illegal here in the United States, and it's illegal in many other countries along the world. I would say mainly this is because there is a negative connotation attached to it. There are actually two types of polygamy. The one that has the most negative connotation to it is polygyny. That is where one man takes multiple wives. And it is often viewed as possessive. Sometimes there is abuse in these relationships, sometimes not. But on the whole, it seems that a lot of nations, including the United Nations, has decided to come together to say, hey, we should not have these because it is demeaning, it's obsessive, it's aggressive to the people that, you know, are not the head in this relationship. One of the other things that might come up when you're talking about polyamory is group marriages, which is marriage of multiple partners to each other, which in theory creates an equal cooperative marriage in which everyone, might have their defined roles, but one role is not seen as more important than the others. There is not one person that is considered the head of the family. They are in it together. Still, this is considered part of polygamy and is not legal. As far as my own personal feelings on the subject, it's not something that I had ever considered until recently, actually. My husband and boyfriend, the three of us get along very well, and in a consensual sense, and I mean every relationship needs to be consensual. In a consensual sense, I wouldn't mind having the option of popping the question to boyfriend one day. And this necessarily won't deter us from that. We of course can't get married, but there are other symbolic gestures that we can do. One, of course, is hand fasting, which is often associated with pagan or Wiccan religions and practices. But if any of you have never seen it, it is actually a beautiful ceremony, and it is very meaningful to all the people that are involved. And I think that if we did something like that, it would mean a lot to us, if we ever did get to that point. Now to talk about my experiences with it. This is something that came up, first time wasn't actually with my husband, it was with an ex-boyfriend, probably 11 or 12 years ago by now. Jeez, I didn't think that it was that long, really. The guy in question, kind of casually brought up, hey, how would you think about us inviting someone in, if you catch my drift? At the time, I really wasn't quite sure. So I was like, let's just put that on pause for a moment, and I will get back to you. The person in question was fine with that at the time. There were issues in the relationship that I don't think would have withstood that very well. So it probably was not a good idea for us, and it's something that I'm glad I did not pursue. Eventually, when I did meet my husband, this was not something that came up immediately. It actually didn't come up until 2 years into our relationship. This was actually after I had already proposed. We were living together and we were engaged. He kind of sat down with me and he was like, hey, I want to talk to you about something. So I was like, okay, sure, what is it? He's like, it might be something that you don't necessarily agree with. It's just something that, I've been considering. So I was like, okay, what is it? And he's like, I was wondering if maybe you think we could invite someone in to, and again, it really wasn't something that I had continued to think about in all that time, so I was like, give me 1 week, and I will have an answer for you. So I did. I thought about it that entire week, but non-stop, really. And finally I came back to him and I was like, look, I don't think that I can, just jump into a situation with just anybody. I'm the type of person that has to have a deep emotional connection with, any of my partners. And if this is something that you want to do, that's the route that I would like to try to take with it. I think we should pursue a boyfriend, if that's a thing. And he sat there for probably 15 seconds, and he just kind of shook his head, and he's like, okay, I can do that. And that's how we started on the path that led us here. There have been many dates that nothing came from. I would say before boyfriend, there were a total of, I would consider, 3 serious relationships. The fault with most of those was a lack in communication. That's pretty much the whole reason why they ended. The first one, rose-colored lenses. We were head over heels for this guy, and while we were clear with what we wanted, he was not so clear on what he wanted, and it led to a huge miscommunication between the 3 of us, and that definitely ended. The second one started off slow, and we eventually built it up to things. That one I felt was a little more balanced, but again, there was not so much the communication for the second one, but definitely the instances of loyalty and fidelity. He had said, hey, there's this person that I would kind of like to get with, and my husband and I were like, I understand you, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. We appreciate you asking before anything happened. We are not okay with you doing this with this particular person, only because we had some previous personal issues, and that was unfortunately ignored, and that's what relationship ending. And the third one was, well, how do I describe it? We got into this one right after that middle one. The second relationship, we had hoped for a lot more, and we were hurting, and we did something stupid, and we kind of just jumped into a relationship without looking into it too much. And the person in question had a lot of growing up to do. They weren't quite sure who they were as a person, and they weren't quite sure how to function normally with other people. It led to a lot of arguments, and in one instance it almost led to a violent situation, with that person being the aggressor. So we took a year-long break. Actually, no, I guess it was more than a year from the dating scene before we finally started talking with boyfriend, who at the time was actually just friend. He was someone that my husband had knew for years, and I had met a few times at fur meets, because he's a furry too. Awesome, yeah. And we kind of mused the question at one point, and he was kind of like, well, I wouldn't turn it down. So we started dating, and the dates were good. They were really good, and we all enjoyed our time together. And when the time was gone, we really missed each other. So, we went from friends to dating to now he's our boyfriend, and he's a great boyfriend. He really is. And we love him lots. The thing that works so much better in this relationship is that it is so easy to talk to each other. It's always been easy for my husband and me to talk to each other. And that's kind of been the missing piece, I guess, is finding someone that can, talk on our level and fit so well, and that's what he does. And that's what I would suggest anyone that is looking into a polyamorous relationship really think about, is, not just if you click, but how well you communicate together, and how well, your partner communicates with them. That's going to be the thing that makes or breaks that relationship. Now, for anyone that, is already in a polyamorous relationship that might be thinking about expanding that, more power to you. It's not something that the three of us have talked about at the moment. Is it a possibility in the future? I don't really know. I don't see anyone coming into a relationship anytime soon. But, if the right person came along and the three of us all agreed, I wouldn't necessarily turn it down. It's just, as I keep continuously saying, communication, because that's what it's all about. People have this misconception that polyamory is, you're a bunch of swingers. Well, it's not really that. I know that there are people that do that. I know some people that do that, and it works out perfectly fine for them. But I would say that most polyamorous relationships can't function too well with a don't ask, don't tell policy. Because there's always that, there's like a little bit of darkness there. And personally, that's something I don't like. Other polyamorous couples that I've talked to don't necessarily like it either. And, if that's something that you think would work better for you, that's fine. That's what you and your partner agree to, then awesome. As long as that is what makes you two happy, and, it does not cause any problems between you and your, committed partner. Aside from that, if you are watching this video and you are monogamous and you are thinking about, a polyamorous relationship, talk to your partner. That's definitely the only thing that I can say. And also know your partner. I would like to think that everyone that is watching this is in a relationship where they can all talk openly about their feelings and things that they might be thinking or wanting to explore. I know that's not always the case. If you are fortunate enough to have that, just ask. I feel like it'll either be a yes or no, or let me think about it. And then, of course, there's always going to be there's stipulations. But I think that goes with just about anything. Of course, there are also the religious sides of, polyamory, polygamy, where those things stand. that I am not actually going to talk about. All of the research is there on the wonderful thing called the interwebs. If you want to go and find out, the religious ideals on the subject of polyamory, go ahead. There are many different views, and if that's something that's important to you, you should know where your faith stands. And that's all I'll say on the subject. That will bring us to the end of this video. I'm not sure if it was insightful or if it was just me rambling. I honestly have not been feeling very good here today. So this was probably not my best work, but I hopefully will be feeling better tomorrow. I am going to try to get my second video out so I don't miss a Monday like I did last week. So yeah, I'm hoping that after this I can do a little bit of recovery and hopefully be a good fire dogo and get all of the videos out for everyone to do all the watchings. Alright. Well, this has been Flamebait, and as always, thank you for joining Flamebait Talks, and keep it sizzling. I will see you all around the interwebs. Bye!